Going to Oxford next year to play Ole Miss, which just came out. What's your reaction to getting that set up?
Well, I think the administration's been hard at work. I mean, obviously, since the Mountain West partnership kind of fell apart, you got to scramble far and wide to go find a game. Obviously, you put the pieces together. Oregon State bought out Wake Forest, right? Obviously, Ole Miss came an opening. They put these pieces together in the last couple of weeks, and hopefully a lot more announcements are coming here very shortly about our schedule. So, before the new Pac-12 starts in 26. So, obviously, a big challenge, top 10 team on the road. I think Coug fans will be very excited to go down there and have a great experience. So, our players will be fired up when that time comes.
And then what's your first off, just your impressions of Fresno State?
I think the biggest thing coming off the bye week, too, was really at the perfect time. We needed a little opportunity to get freshened up, get our guys back. We had a couple light practices last week and kind of started with a run through this week. I said kind of the same similar stuff when I talked about San Jose, a team that knows how to win. This team's 17-3 at home the last 4 years. It's not easy to go to the Valley and get a win. It's going to be warm. Their fans are going to be rowdy. Offensively, very exciting brand of football. They throw it around. You can still see, I don't want to say leftover, but the Kalen DeBoer offense, Kirby Moore, obviously the quarterback is a high-level player. They have all seniors across the offensive front. This is a very seasoned offense. 18, 11, 0, they're all playmakers. Two's been in and out running the football, but defensively they get after you. I mean, coordinator's been there for a long time. They're going to apply pressure. 5 is just a tremendous player. I mean, they got 0, the Foreman kid on the other side, so I think the biggest thing, you got to make sure you take out their last performance. For whatever reason, they ran into a buzzsaw with UNLV. I think UNLV was fired up about all the press. They came out there, and I guarantee you Fresno is going to be just like we are, coming into that game with a bad taste in your mouth, ready to perform. Both teams coming off the bye week, so it's going to be a hell of a battle.
You talked about the process of building your offensive line the last 3 years. What have been the main challenges of that process, and then what remains to be done to accomplish your vision?
Well, the challenge is that there's no quick solution. I mean, you talk about offensive linemen. There is no just find a kid out of high school, go plug him in. Or, hey, let's just go find this great O-lineman out of the portal. Not that they don't exist, but they come with a heavy, heavy price tag. So there's no shortcuts to it. There's a developmental process. There's a training room. There's the weight room. There's a technique. There's been multiple offensive line coaches. It's just taking that next step where we feel like that is a dominant group, right? Because on paper, same thing. We've got a lot of guys with tons of experience. Those guys, I mean, over 100 starts probably collective. You'd have to add that up. I'm spitballing there a little bit, but a lot of experience in that room. So when we go against the best and these teams that like to pressure, we got to keep John clean so he can go through his progressions. That's the next step of our offensive line, but we're really close to being where we want to be.
I have kind of 2 questions on the running back room. One is, do you expect Javinsky to play this weekend?
Yeah, Javinsky's going to be 100%.
And then with DP out for the rest of the season, is there anyone who's maybe going to get an opportunity to have a larger role in your running back room?
No, I mean, that's where we're going from 4 to 3. Not that we always knew one of them was going to get banged up. This is a really unfortunate injury with DP. But you always know someone's going to go down with an ankle for a while or something like that, and next man up in that room. So we got 3 guys that have done it, that have played extensive time, that have all scored touchdowns and made big plays in football games. So really excited about what those 3 guys are going to bring to this football team.
Coach, just the overall vibe after this bye week, any new sense of energy with just the players and the coaches going into practice and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. I mean, it's one of those things where you got to reset, you got to recharge, and then I told them last night, you got to refocus when you come back in the building, so the hardest thing to do is go back to work on Monday after vacation, right? I think we all know that. So I think our guys really attacked the work this morning, and we'll be back in full pads tomorrow, ready to get after it, because we got to get used to playing football again, being physical again, moving the ball again, and get ready to peak on Saturday against a really good team. So like I said, it came at the right time. I'd be probably lying if I didn't say we don't have a bad taste in our mouth and want to get back out there and show the team that we know that we can be.
You talked last week just kind of about several things that you wanted to be able to piece back together during this extra kind of time for practice. If you had to pick kind of one top priority that you were like, we must kind of glue this back together, what would you say that was?
So easy. Defensive communication. I mean, we cannot be on the field and not communicate with each other. We've been rotating a lot of different guys in that safety nickel corner position. Introducing Jamori back's a big positive to our football team. We got to communicate. I mean, these offenses today, I mean, there's a million different formations, motions, adjustments, and you have to be able to handle it all. And the bottom line about defensive football in today's world, everything that you work preparing, and we got 10 days to prepare for this football team, they won't do any of that stuff, right? And I know it sounds weird, but they don't. They just keep evolving. They do a bunch of different things, formations. They'll do a lot of the same plays, but in all new and different ways. So you got to be able to adjust on your feet quickly, right? And that's what makes great coaching, in my opinion, right? To have the guys prepared and ready to go out there and adjust and attack. Right now we're on our heels a little bit thinking we need to get in a forward positive stance, attacking these guys and going out there and playing to the level I still believe our defense is capable of playing. But it starts with communication.
You obviously have played Fresno State before and maybe didn't go the way you wanted in the LA Bowl, but outside of obviously the faces being different, how do you feel like the team or the culture of the program maybe is different than it was 2 years ago?
I'm not going to make an excuse. That'd be an easy excuse. That was a challenging time too. I mean, one of many challenging times I think we've had here. Coordinators, players, that type of stuff. But it just, when you game plan for them, and even a bowl game, you're looking at you got a lot of time to look at everything. You just see a very well-disciplined, hard-nosed football team. I think they embody their region. Obviously with Coach Tedford stepping away this season, his imprint is still all over that program, right? Tough, hard-nosed, competitive, physical, yet play their own brand of, kind of offensive ball. So every time you turn the film on, that's what you see. So, let's be honest. I mean, you look at the first game of the year against Michigan, 17-10 going into the fourth quarter. They had a pick six at the end of the game to kind of make it look harder than it is. They didn't really establish a run game against Michigan, right? Or against Fresno. So we got to be balanced and we got to play within ourselves, right? So I think it'll be a tough environment. I played there twice. Very, very tough place to play.
I think it was Dan Lanning who said July, August that he kind of wished that the college rules would just be a complete replication of the NFL rules in terms of how in terms of 2-minute warning, so on. We obviously see some those applied this year. Is that something you would like to see as well, where it's the exact same when it comes to 2 feet in, 1 feet in, and so on and so forth?
I think the more we gravitate towards the NFL, the more boring we get. I'm not going to, in a different way. There's some things. My biggest push to be like the NFL would be the number restriction, right? If you are an eligible player, you got to be in an eligible position. It would stop all these crazy gate formations, unbalanced, like who's where. I mean, we've seen more tackles lined up at wide receivers this year than we have in a while. So that'd probably be the one rule I would love to creep into our game. I don't like the kickoff. I think it's boring. So I understand why they do a lot of the things they do. But I know I got a chance to watch the Packers a little bit on Sunday, and it's like it's moving too slow for me. Let's speed this game up and let's get it going.
You saw it against Boise State, the crowd, the physical game that you guys were in. You're going to get everyone's best shot. Is that something you remind the players, like if there's a downtime during practice, or is it something that they already know?
I choose to go the opposite. We need to give everyone our best, right? I'm not worried about them, right? If they're going to get high or low based on what jersey logo is coming into their stadium, that's on them, right? I'm looking for our consistency, right? The one thing I told the coaches, we cannot come back in here on Sunday and say we didn't play our best. That's on us. We got a talented football team. I think we got a great culture, a great focus. I think we got their attention. I believe they work hard. We'll never do everything perfect. We're all in this thing together. But we need to walk off that field Saturday saying we delivered. We had 2 weeks to prepare, and let's go into this game and play our best. Let's focus on what we can do to win football games.
Kind of piggybacking off that NFL question, during the bye week, do you show the players kind of some cougs in the NFL? I think I saw Frankie Louvu had a good game against for the Commanders, but
we haven't. I know a lot of guys are watching it, and it's awesome. I got a text message from Steve Jones, who's worked with our football team on the motivation side. He was in LA with the Packers now. Saw Brennan and took a picture and all that type of stuff. Very proud of what those guys are out there doing, and it's really cool just to see some of our alums have some success. I think that's good for our players, obviously for recruiting, to get a chance to see those things. So, but we don't talk too much about that with the team.
think you spoke last week about taking a detailed look at every part of your football team during the bye week, especially the defense. Was there any significant change that you made throughout this week or something that's going to look different on Saturday?
Well, I think there's a whole bunch of different buckets that you put issues into, okay? First bucket, schematic issue, right? We can control that. We can fix that. What do we need to do? Second bucket, we're talking about like player issue. Do we need to replace a player? He's not getting it done, or is it an issue where it's a technique issue, right? So what bucket are we having these issues with on defense? And the Boise State game wasn't as much schematic. It was technique. It was finish. It was a little bit of effort, which was extremely disappointing. So we all took a hard look at that. And, my job is to always keep the big picture in mind of what's the best for our football team. And we can play better. I know that's obviously what we're capable of doing. I firmly believe in this team, right? That has not wavered. I believe in our coaching staff. I know what we're capable of doing. So, yes, we've identified some tendency things. We've identified, obviously, we talked about the communication, the effort. We have to be able to get after the quarterback. Through 5 games to have 5 sacks is not anywhere near where you got to be able to play in a 4-down front, right? You're dedicating 4 guys to rush the passer every play for the most part. So those are some of the problems that we have to solve to be a successful defense, to keep the offense off balance and off schedule and be able to attack them, right? So I've been happy with our corner play. For the most part, excited where those guys are at and where we can grow, and to get some of these pieces back, I think will be important.
As you sit now at 4-1, you mentioned that this may be a turning point in your season. What are you hoping to see this week throughout practice to ensure that this team, gets back on the right foot and can go into a hostile environment and win a game for the first time?
Well, then the schedule is kind of set up uniquely, right? You get the fast start, right? You get the middle 8, and you get the focus finish, exactly how we set up our practices and kind of the mentality of everything that we do. So we're headed into that middle 8. That middle 8's a grind, right? And find a way to create an advantage. We've had 10 days as a coaching staff to find an edge for our football team, okay? But we've also had 10 days for the players, right, to focus on like their rest, recovery, rehab, and making sure they're ready to peak too for this next 3 stretch of games, right? But you do it one at a time. And to go out there that, we can play against tough opponents on the road. One thing I did ask him, I didn't ask about the NFL, but I said, what did you guys learn from college football last Saturday, right? Everyone wants to talk to the big upsets. It's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win. All those things happened on the road, okay? Second thing is, different teams show up every week. They wear the same jerseys, they have the same numbers on, but different teams show up. And that's a choice to me, right? So we win this football game on Rogers Field this week, right? Preparing with our hair on fire, being ready to go out there and play great Cougar football, right? The team will win this game, and that's what we got to be focused on.
And you mentioned last week, we're going to make a decision on the 5 offensive linemen. Is that a call that's been made?
No, not yet. I mean, we had a little bit of padded work last Thursday. We'll do that as we go throughout the course of Tuesday, Wednesday, and we probably won't announce it. You guys will see those guys run out snap one.
And then just kind of updates with Nick, and I know you mentioned 4 of the DBs were out or limited last week. Just kind of where they stand.
We're hopeful to get Boogie back. We'll get Capenna back. We'll get Moku back. Jackson's still doubtful probably for the game. We'll see kind of where that goes, and we're pushing Nick to hopefully punt, and we'll see how kind of his body responds, this week.
So there is a chance he will play?
There's a chance, yeah.
And then just kind of same question with Ryan Harris.
Ryan's probably doubtful as well. I think you have a soft tissue injury when you're a kickoff guy. It takes a little bit more to recover, so maybe a couple more weeks with that.
And then just lastly, Carlos and Jamori still expected to go?
Yeah, they're 100%. They've been looking good, too. I mean, Jamori's got fresh legs, naturally. And Los is just kind of locked in, and what can he add as we work him in to this offense, because he's a guy that can be outside, he can be inside, he can do a bunch of different things, empty personnel, he can be in the backfield. So we're excited about what he's brought to our team, and just a good jolt of life after these first 5 games.
You mentioned trying to improve the pass rush. Like, what do you guys have to do to kind of improve in that way?
And I don't think it's just mentality, but I think we get so thick on everybody, and I think crushing pockets and making quarterbacks uncomfortable is great, but there's sometimes we need to escape. We need to use our speed We need to cut these guys loose a little bit more so they can go rush the passer. I think that's vital. I think in our system we're very regimented. The run fits, and I think that is important. But there's sometimes, it's two options in offense. They could run it or they could pass it. So 50% of the time when you pass rush, you'll be right. So there's a little bit of those things where we got to be more aggressive in dictating and that's schematic, it's effort, it's technique through the players. There's a lot of different things, like it's coverage, so there's a lot of things that we need to get better at to affect the quarterback.
We talked about Devin Kalani a lot, especially as a league recruiter, and has experienced his fair share of adversity just to get on the field. But especially after a tough game like Boise, what role do you see him playing in kind of rallying the guys and preparing for the next?
Well, he's the voice of the offense. I don't think there's any, him and John, I don't think there's any doubt to that. I love his work ethic. He's an example guy. He brings energy. It's just one of those guys that really loves playing ball, and that isn't just Saturdays, that's every day. So I think when you lead by example like that, and you got to demand it out of the people around you. It's the biggest thing I keep talking to our leadership group about. There's one thing to expect people to go out there and play hard. It's a whole other thing to demand that they do it, right? Expecting leaves it to chance. Demand is like, we are in this thing together. Let's go. We only got 7 more opportunities with this football team. Right? So why waste a Tuesday morning? Let's go get this thing. We got a great opportunity. Got to do it one at a time.
Coach, not about this week, but you guys spend a lot of the bye week going out and recruiting, going to Seattle. I know you were kind of out there as well. What's it like kind of to bring, we also spend a lot of time with like the Spokane high school football teams. We're seeing some talent out there too. What's it like to kind of recruit locally? And just be able, I think of Armani Marsh right away as just one of those Spokane guys that it just brings that energy and like the local aspect to WSU. What's it like to kind of get those guys in?
I think it's just great, to your first point, just being out there and seeing Friday Night Lights again. I know it's changed. With just learning more about it with the referee shortages, people are playing Thursday. I was at a Friday at 4 o'clock game, then a doubleheader. It's just amazing what happens, but you just see the joy. 95% of those kids will never play football after high school. But to see these kids have fun and enjoy playing, my mind goes to like watching Tumwater, and I'm like, man, I would not want to defend that option. That's tough, right? So I just really enjoy watching these kids play for the joy of it. And, man, I love to see hard coaching and guys giving their all. It's nerve-wracking sometimes. I was watching some of our recruits and have the head coach there. Like, I put myself in those shoes, and I think these guys – just embody playing hard and loving football. And that's what we do. And it's always going to start recruiting Washington. That's exactly where we start. And obviously we spread from there as far as building our football team, and excited about the local football and what all those guys bring to the table.